Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about failing in advance. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach, midlife mentor, and I'm so glad to be here with you again for this week's episode, which is all about failing in advance, the sneaky way midlife women stay stuck. Have you heard of failing in advance before? When I first heard of this concept about 10 years ago, it felt new to me. However, it wasn't. I was definitely doing some failing in advance myself for years. Here's one way to tell if you may be failing in advance yourself. Have you ever wanted something but found yourself mysteriously unmotivated or stopping before you even start? That just might be a clue that you, my amazing friend, are also dipping your toe into the world of failing in advance. So that's what we're talking about today. Fun times, right? Yes, it will be fun times, I promise. But just quick, you've heard me say this before. Time, she is flying. And when you're a busy midlife gal, you don't want to waste valuable time. That's why it's so great to know that midlife transformation coaching is the fastest way to rediscover joy and purpose after 50 and after 60. That's because learning to become the queen of your brain domain is key to being way more intentional with your life. That means more having your own back, more living in alignment with your priorities, more confidence about regret-proofing your life, and a big one, more allowing yourself to be happier before you run out of time. Being stuck or frustrated with your life these days is a huge waste of time, and I know for sure that that doesn't sit well with you. But don't worry, I can help you put time on your side for a change. The Women in the Middle Academy is an amazing way to create your happiness blueprint for your next chapter so you don't have regrets. It's my signature group program, and the only thing that's missing is you. More clarity about what you really want is key, so think about it. Where do you want to be a year from now? Can you get there on your own? Or with some master-level coaching support, a super useful and fun curriculum, and an amazing community of like-minded women make it easier and more fun? I think so. Here's the thing. You can fear the future or you can shape it. Which will you choose? I'd love to tell you all about it, so let's talk. Enrollment is open, and there are juicy bonuses available that you will love. You deserve this, so go ahead and apply at www.talktosusie.com, and we'll chat and see if working together is a good fit. I can't wait to see you in my Zoom room. Okay, now let's dive in. Today we're talking all about this weird thing that can happen to you that's called failing in advance. Let's start with a definition. Failing in advance means giving up before you really try, usually because of hidden beliefs, thoughts, and fears about all kinds of things. It can definitely be an issue because you end up making it harder to get the results that you want. Basically, you end up getting in your own way. The thoughts can be sneaky too. They can feel like a normal or common kind of thought that wouldn't be suspicious at all of wreaking havoc in your life. You may think it all the time too, like on autopilot. The problem is, though, that this is just the sort of thinking that can lead you to keeping you where you are, not growing forward, not going after your goals, and not creating the outcomes you're excited about. You may even lose your momentum and interest in continuing to move forward in the direction of your goals, and that can be a confusing bummer. It's pretty common for women over 50 to experience this too. I hear this from clients all the time. There are so many things you want to do at your age, and quite frankly, it could be pretty scary sometimes. Many of these things revolve around some sort of a transition. Change can bring up a lot of stress, anxiety, uncertainty, and the big one, plain old fear. Fear is super common when you're thinking about how you may want to reinvent yourself and try new things. You may have to become a beginner again, put yourself out there in new and different ways. You may have some discomfort about becoming more visible, doing things alone, and, well, not being perfect. You may also worry about being judged or looking silly or stupid or less experienced. And then there's wasting valuable time. So many things. Failing in advance may start to look pretty good to you because it can seem easier and safer, right? You've probably heard that your brain is wired that way to keep you safe. It's not that you're necessarily lazy, it's that your brain is doing its thing. Doing new scary things can feel risky. And that may not be your jam, so here we are. We're going to go in, we're going to raise more awareness of this whole failing in advance thing, the phenomenon, so that you can be more intentional about going after your goals. So let's make sure you're clear about what failing in advance refers to so you can relate to it. I said earlier that failing in advance is giving up before you really try, usually because of hidden beliefs, thoughts, and fears, that sort of thing. So you quit trying before you really made it your priority to go all out to get it or create it, whatever it is. It's like when you decide not to take the next step or decide not to show up or actually do some self-sabotage before you even give yourself a real chance. And you may not even appreciate that you're making the decision to fail in advance because you're convinced that your decision is the right one. The thing is, you may not have the awareness of all that's involved in getting in your own way like this. Some common examples might be things you don't bother following through on even though you want them, like maybe a new job or promotion, or a new hobby or something you're quite passionate about, or even getting yourself some amazing help that you know would make a difference for you to attain your goal. When you're able to really see what's going on, you may be aware of feeling fearful about being disappointed, or maybe you want to protect yourself from negative emotion or feeling judged, or maybe you're worried that you won't be kind to yourself if you fail, like mean girl type stuff might be coming your way. And you don't want to go down that road. Now, if you're a regular listener, you've heard me coach about sneaky thoughts and the importance of catching them in action. We all have them, and they're highly likely to be related to your decision to fail in advance. They probably seem super innocent, and you may be surprised to find out that they are not innocent at all because they are dream squishers. That's why there's so much on the line when we think about this stuff. As a midlife gal, you don't have time to waste, and your ability to create an exciting, intentional life is on the line. Like if that's really where you want to go, if that's really what you want, to try stuff, to plan stuff, to set goals, and know that you have a chance to go after them, you don't want to be getting in your own way. So this is really important. Let's talk about how to spot the sneaky thoughts. So, what do I mean by sneaky thoughts? Well, that's when you're thinking something, but you're not either aware that you're thinking it, or you're not aware that the negative outcome you're experiencing is related to the thought that you're thinking. They are hidden in that you're unaware of them in some way. They're hidden from your awareness. They sound innocent, or like you're just reporting the facts the way you see them. But they have power to steal your dreams. Here are some examples. You might catch yourself saying or thinking, it probably won't work out anyway. Or this one, I'll just wait until something is better, whatever it is. Like, I'll just wait until I have more time. Or I'll just wait until I feel better, or I feel stronger or more confident, that sort of thing. Or maybe any of these. People my age, they don't do that, or they don't do that kind of thing well. Or I know I won't hit that goal. Or I'll do it when I'm more ready. Or, it's too late. I'm not good enough. And of course, this one, I think I might look silly or stupid if I do this, if I'm not successful. That kind of thing. So ask yourself, when might you have been thinking thoughts like these? I'll share a couple of personal examples, and that will help you think about this a little bit more and how it might be showing up for you. The first example happened when I was about 16 or so. My high school band was quite competitive, and we were heading to a national competition in Florida. I remember having this conversation with some of the older kids, the juniors and seniors, about the likelihood of winning the competition. They were so pumped up. I actually said, we'll never win. Bands from southern states, we were from Pennsylvania, they can practice all winter, and we can't. I ruled out winning in that moment. I noticed that nobody else chimed in, that they felt the same way. And what do you know? We won! Fred, our band director, actually fainted on the field from overwhelm and joy. It was a moment I'll never forget for so many reasons, and I still find it hard to believe, though, that I shared those views and put myself in that state of mind. Fortunately, there were 179 other band members who didn't feel that way. Another story of mine is one that I shared on the podcast before because it was so eye-opening for me. Huge. This one's a doozy, and I think it's worth repeating here now. It's about my personal weight loss. Here's the background. Like so many of us, I remember trying to lose weight most of my life. 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever. It started young. Also, you may know that I'm small. I'm only 4'10". So fast forward a few decades, and when I was about 50, I took a class with my first life coach about mindset related to losing weight. She asked me, Susie, why do you think you haven't hit your weight loss goal yet? Well, I replied, it's harder for me to lose weight because I'm only 4'10". There was silence. Then she asked, why do you think that? And it was in that moment that I realized that I was choosing to think that thought, and it wasn't true. It didn't even make sense. It was a sneaky thought that created the result for me of failing in advance with weight loss. When I would think that basically it's harder for me because of my DNA, my height, it meant weight loss was out of my control. So it was easy to get in my own way with that kind of a thought. It creates this feeling of lack of control and hopelessness. So the logical result is that I would quit in advance. But think I was all in. Now that's really an important one here. It had a big effect on me in terms of the way I was feeling, like I mentioned, lack of control, hopelessness, but I didn't appreciate what was happening. I thought I was all in. See what I mean? Two similar but very different examples of failing in advance, and here are two more. First, here's the short version of this one. In 2017, I was contacted by an assistant curator from the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, in an email about purchasing something that I made with my own hands that was in my little Etsy store. It was a beaded wire kippa. I was speechless when I saw this email. Like my heart was racing. I was confused. You know, you can imagine what that might be like. My eyes blinked like a cartoon character. And I had to forward the email to an artist friend to make sure it wasn't fake. Well, it wasn't fake. MoMA was doing a huge exhibit called Items Is Fashion Modern, which, and I quote, explored the present, past, and sometimes the future of 111 items of clothing and accessories that have had a strong impact on the world in the 20th and 21st centuries and continue to hold currency today. So the kinds of things that were included in the exhibit were things like a little black dress, swatch watches, the underwire bra, a string of pearls, that sort of thing. Classic accessories and fashion over the years. Mine was a kippa, and there was a kippa category, and it was one of 10 kippas and the only one for women. There was also a coffee table book that was created for the exhibit, and the exhibit was there for 4 months. Now, the lead up to the opening of the exhibit was weirdly stressful for me. You might think, well, you're just going to be super excited. Well, that's where my failing in advance thoughts were picking up steam. I was almost afraid to share what was going on because of my fear that it wouldn't actually happen. I started to spin on thoughts about it not happening, that my contribution wouldn't be included, or that I made something up, or that I believed something that was going to fall apart, or somehow it felt like a failure, like I was being, it was very risky for me. And I was going to be let down and disappointed, and I would tell people and it wouldn't turn out. And oh my gosh, it was a very strange experience. It was almost as if it was too big of a cool opportunity to believe that it was going to work out. Now, in this example, much like the band example, my failing in advance wasn't going to affect the bigger outcome of the event, but what it did do was to rob me of some of the enjoyment of the experience, and it really made me realize that just because you think it, it doesn't mean it's true or useful. You know, are you following? It was really a weird experience for me. When I think back on it, it's still, you know, it just made such a huge impression, my reaction to the whole situation before it happened. Going to the exhibit was, oh my gosh, it was amazing. I'll put some links in the show notes. Okay, so I have one more, and this is a really quick one. And this was the time I was applying to grad school. And even though I was super interested in clinical psychology, I didn't even apply because I was afraid I wouldn't get in. An obvious fail in advance move, right? Can you relate to any of these? I told you, sometimes your thoughts are really sneaky. Sometimes they surprise you. Sometimes they're more obvious. Sometimes you have a sense that you're backing off in some way with your actions or beliefs. Sometimes you have no clue. Now, you might be wondering why? Why would you fail in advance like this? There's a few reasons to consider. As I mentioned earlier in the show, your brain is wired to stay safe, to keep you safe. Uncertainty is scary. Squirming in discomfort or being embarrassed is uncomfortable and scary, or maybe both. This is not what your brain wants. Very scary, uncomfortable stuff. You may also be influenced by things that may have happened in your past. Maybe you really believed in a goal or worked hard towards one and didn't get the result you wanted, and it was a pretty difficult experience. You might come to the conclusion that it's just safer not to bother at all, not to even try. And then there's being a midlife gal. Growing up when we did, you might lean toward perfectionism, and in general, the way we were socialized, you may have some specific beliefs about the importance of steering clear of failure no matter what. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Susie, now what? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Here are 4 simple strategies to help you catch yourself in the act of failing in advance and what to do about it. First, increase your awareness of what's going on up there. Start noticing when you hesitate, when you procrastinate, when you talk yourself out of things. Maybe you hear yourself saying no or coming up with excuses, that sort of thing. Second, increase your curiosity about what's going on up there in your brain. What's the chatter? What's the spin all about? What are you making doing the thing or believing the thing mean to you? Ask yourself what is really going on. What might you be afraid of or worried about? And third, identify the emotion you would need to feel when you say yes to whatever it is. When you lean in, what would you need to feel safe? Would you need to feel open, motivated, curious, strong, optimistic, happy? What would it be for you? And then fourth, practice thinking a new thought, one that creates the feeling that you just identified. For example, if you decided that you needed to feel open, what thought might create that for you? Maybe something like, I'm open to the idea that this experience is going to be beneficial no matter what. Or if you wanted to feel curious, you might think, I love watching myself experience a variety of emotions as I'm putting myself out there. The thought-feeling relationship is personal and subjective, so you may not land on the most useful thought for you to create that emotion right off the bat. Try on a few and see what happens. Here are a couple of the thoughts to keep you moving forward because, of course, this can be challenging. One of the main obstacles I've seen over the past 10 years coaching midlife gals like you is the difficulty of being in the present moment. What I mean is being truly present and appreciating the skill development phase of attaining the goal. It's super common to just value and celebrate the big result, the success. But just imagine what it would be like if you also valued and celebrated your attempts, your practice, your process. Being present and finding joy along the way can really be life-changing. You really have to be aware of this. It's a biggie. And a couple more last thoughts. Remember what I talk about all the time here on the podcast, the concept of regret proofing. Remind yourself why it matters to go for it, to set the goal, to try the thing, to believe in yourself, to dream big. Ask yourself, would you regret failing in advance? It's easy to focus on the cost of failing, but what about the cost of not trying? And another great question to consider is, what kind of woman do you want to become? You get to choose. Do you want to become a woman who is open to trying stuff even with no guarantee? Who's curious about how she's going to grow and what she's going to learn along the way to trying to accomplish the goal? Are you wanting to become a woman who has a more open idea of what failure means? Maybe failure means learning. Every time I've looked up successful people over 50, over 60, every single one of them talk about how many failures they had and how they would have never become successful if they didn't have those failures, because you learn so much from failing. So really, really think about this stuff. What kind of woman do you want to become? What's the cost of not trying? And what would it be like to be truly present along the way in your process, in your journey? Now, try to remember that failing in advance is optional, even though it often doesn't feel that way. This is one of the important ways I can help you, busting through thoughts that keep you stuck on your road to being more intentional about what you want. And this is what we're up to in my Women in the Middle Academy. We are up to this all the time. This is what we coach about. This is what the other women are working on too. So if you'd like to see if working together is a good fit for you, head over to www.talktosusie.com and book your free momentum call. This is the way to learn more about how the Academy can help you go from wasting valuable time and worrying about having regrets to feeling fulfilled and excited about what's to come. Seriously, all the while using creative tools, mindset coaching, joyful planning, and accountability in an amazing community of like-minded women. So if you're ready to step on the gas and make changes that are important to you, the Academy just might be the answer. Now, as you know, my focus as your midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. This is what regret-proofing your life is all about. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be, and midlife transformation coaching can really help you. And it can help you in such a meaningful, deep way. As I mentioned, if you'd like to see if coaching together is a good fit for you, either in the Academy or privately, head over to www.talktosusie.com and book your free momentum call, and we'll chat. And for show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 414. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.